recognizing and acknowledging that we are on the lands of Peoria, Kaskaskia, Piankashaw, Weah, Miami, Mascoutin, Odawa, Sauk, Meskweki, Kickapoo, Potawatomi, Ojibwe, and Chickasaw, Illinois nations. These lands were the traditional territory of the Native nations prior to their forced removal. These lands continue to carry the stories of these nations and their struggles for survival and identity. The City of Urbana and the Urbana Park District have a particular responsibility to acknowledge peoples of these lands, as well as the histories of dispossession that have allowed for the growth of this institution for the past 150 years. We are also obligated to reflect on and actively address these histories and the role that Urbana City and Urbana Park District have played in shaping them. Today we are reflecting on the determination by the Urbana Park District, by Executive Director Tim Bartlett and Superintendent of Planning and Operations Derek Liebert, and the Urbana Board of Commissioners to kill 100 plus geese who live in this park and in other neighboring areas. We're remembering the Native American people who lived on this land. We apologize to them for being unable so far to stop this killing of our geese. We apologize to the geese for being unable so far to stop this killing. We apologize to our children. What we will say to them when they ask us why were the geese killed. We apologize to one another for being unable so far to stop this killing. This acknowledgement and the centering of Native peoples is a start. As we move forward for the next 150 years, we are on the stolen lands built by stolen hands.
Thank you. Facts.
Probably the most known poet of the last 30 years is in the U.S. is an American poet, Mary Oliver, who recently died. And I wanted to recite her poem, Wild Geese. You know, she could have chosen almost any animal or plant to make this message true. She chose geese. And the poem is called Wild Geese. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Do not drift away so you can't hear. Okay, wild geese. You don't have to be good. You don't have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clear blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and excited, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things.
Thank you.
The power of poetry. If you would like a copy of this poem, I have them.
Thanks, Mary Oliver. Okay, now, Victoria Ford, who's been, amongst other people, crafting our positions and stuff, is now going to read over there.
Would you like one?
And again, we try to keep social distance, but try to listen up to what Victoria has announced.
Boy, I got choked up there. Mary Oliver always does that to me. Before I start, I'm going to say something. When I was looking at the, looking up geese, and I was looking at the symbology of geese, because every animal has its strengths and we honor them in many ways. But the geese are known for their bravery, their courage. They are known for their loyalty. They are known for, if one falls, if one gets hurt, another comes down from the flock and stays with that bird. When one gets tired from leading, another comes and takes over. And that's what we can learn from the geese. As we are here today, we honor them, but we also need to remember that those qualities are exactly what we are. We are brave, we are courageous, we are helping each other, lifting each other up. We are doing this for them, and we are doing it for us, and we are doing it for all people and all animals. So yesterday was a day of writing for me. I wrote to the News Gazette, I read, and I also wrote to the Board of Commissioners. And a little backstory on this is that a woman from St. Louis who has been with Geese Peace, she's the president, Nancy Snell, and she's been with them for 19 years, and they have a very, very successful population control program. And people from all over St. Louis know about them and use them. So she gave me this idea because she met with Derek and Tim just the other day. And this was her analysis of why their program hasn't worked and what could make it work. So this will explain, this is my interpretation of this and my proposal to the Board of Commissioners. Please be aware that a newly formed Geese Peace chapter in Urbana, that we hope to work with the Urbana Park District to manage the geese population at Crystal Lake Park. Derek Liebert and his crew for the past few years have tried many humane methods to reduce the population: egg addling, hazing by laser, and border collie and trainers. These methods work effectively, but they cannot control the geese that come onto Crystal Lake Park from surrounding areas.
Could you say that again? That's really important.
This is the key. So they've done all these things, right? But what they can't do is control the nests that are in the surrounding areas that come here because they love the water and they love the manicured lawns. That's what they want. So often these other areas are where they nest. And these eggs also need to be addled, but the Urbana Park District has no jurisdiction over these neighboring areas. As an outside group, we can provide this service free. This will create a complete, comprehensive plan going forward to control the geese population in the area and assist the Urbana Park District. We are a volunteer group of passionate and energetic goose lovers. We recognize that there is an overpopulation, but we do not agree that killing the geese is the answer.
No!
Give us 1 year, and we will volunteer our time to addle the eggs at Crystal Lake Park. Further, we will reach out to the surrounding golf course, church, and property owners to identify nesting areas and addle those eggs in the spring. The reason why there are so many geese coming from nearby areas is that Crystal Lake Park provides the perfect combination of manicured grass and access to water. The best method that will work to improve the quality of the Crystal Lake Park experience will also improve the neighboring areas and create goodwill to the entire community. St. Louis Geese Peace President Nancy Snell has offered to come to Urbana and train us in egg addling.
Yay!
And what that means is you take the eggs in the nest. It takes about 3 people, 2 people to kind of shoo away mom and dad, and another person to go in, and first you put the eggs in water to see if they float, and if they do, you don't touch that egg, but if it sinks, you put oil on it, is what I understand. Also, sometimes they use wooden eggs, and so there's about 5 to 7 eggs each nest, and you do that consistently over a period of time, and what you're trying to do is neutralize the overpopulation through that method instead of killing them. So she has offered to come to Urbana and train us in egg addling and guide us as we begin. She and her group have been volunteering in St. Louis surrounding area for 19 years and have a tremendous successful program that we will adapt. This is our offer, but it is a one-time offer. We do not condone the so-called charity harvest, and should you choose to go ahead with it in the next few weeks, this offer will be withdrawn. Please consider looking at this issue with this new information and vote to not kill geese.
So are there questions? People have questions, because some people have already written to us saying they want to learn how to addle. You can be part of this effort. So one question I could say to you then, Victoria, but isn't putting the oil sort of like killing the babies? How do you explain that?
Well, it's an embryo. I mean, you're trying to catch this at the very beginning of the developmental state. So that's the point.
Yeah.
And
well, I was going to ask, does it just actually kill the embryo, or does it discourage the geese from sitting on the eggs?
It destroys its viability.
Okay.
And that's what they've been doing in St. Louis. That's what they've been doing in many different areas around the country.
And we're doing it here and successfully.
Yeah.
Meaning we saw, if you check the goose population management on the Urbana Park District site, you'll see from 2015 to 2019 that the geese population was steadily going down because of this oiling. And it's the most humane way that we can do it. Somehow this year, because of, they say, staff and because of the virus, they didn't do it. And now we're seeing a lot more geese, but we're seeing geese that do not actually belong here. They're coming from miles away. And this is what we're trying to point out. The plan has a flaw, is that if we kill these geese, which we don't want, then all the other geese come from all the other areas and we'll have to kill those geese. So this is not a way to be doing it. We've got to address the environment, and they know that, and they don't have a plan. Tim Bartlett actually jokingly asked us that after he kills all the geese, would we be willing to work on this plan to stop these geese from other places? We told him no. No, we are now Geese Peace Urbana. It's a free organization, it's a nonprofit, and part of our premises are that we will not resort to killing of an animal in order to manage it. To manage by murder is not managing. And we live in these times of a culture of violence, and we've got to stop this being reflected with the animals. So we don't want a culture of violence, and we don't want the fact that the animals are inconvenient to be a reason to kill them. What message does that send to people? We've got to have leadership from the Park District. They keep saying people don't like the food, but we're asking them to supply leadership. And if they don't supply leadership, we are going to supply the leadership, our way forward. So,
is there a possibility of changing this park from an urban park to a forest preserve?
we asked Deb, our friend. She said that's a 5-year, tremendously difficult thing, but it would be a direction that this
because
would be.
then it would also be something that would really serve the public instead of serving the gentry.
Yeah.
So I would, people, this water needs to be clean so people can fish in it. The birds need to be here to give peace to the spirits of the people who use the park and calm. I mean, we need to learn from the park. We need to learn from nature at this point, and they're thwarting all of that. And that's a public interest that they're stopping. So I'm asking, we need to also get on the even though it takes 5 years and it's upward hillside, I think that's the way to go, because they just want to gentrify the whole thing and keep it for the filthy rich. And we have enough of that going.
Okay, back to protesting. Thanks, everybody.